Coniston Village is located adjacent to Coniston Water and is surrounded by stunning scenery, including the mountain named the Old Man of Coniston. The village was a small rural community centred around Coniston Hall, and it began to grow due to the copper mining industry. This week I'm back in the Lake District. I'm in the southern part of the Lake District, and I'm going to have a look around two villages, Coniston, which is this one, and Hawkshead. Coniston is well known for the copper mine industry that used to exist here. This hike leads you up the hill to an old copper mine that you can have a look round. Apparently the mining started here in the Bronze Age, but the peak time for the copper mining was the 17th and 18th centuries, and then halfway through the 19th century it started to decline because of cheaper imports. On this route up to the copper mines, there are quite a few waterfalls to see. You can probably hear this one behind me. What a fantastic view this is behind me. You've got the dusting of the ice on the mountains, a little white house in the middle of nowhere, and behind the house, you might not be able to see it on the video, but there's another waterfall. I've still not quite reached the copper mines yet. I later found out that the White House was built in 1830 and was used as the mine manager's residence. Since the 1930s, it has operated as a youth hostel. So I've made it up to the copper mines. I'm just going to have a look around here and I'm going to head back down to Coniston. I was going to go further up towards Lever's Water for some views over the village and the lake, but I put on my crampons because it's quite icy up there, and for some reason they've got tangled or something in my boots, and I tripped up and I fell and I've hurt my knee. So I'm not going to go any further up there where it's more icy. I'm going to go back down. I'll have a look round here and then I'll go back to the village. Although there is some archaeological evidence that there may have been some form of mining in this area since the Bronze Age, the commercial records of mining here date back to the 1500s. Under the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, interest in metal mining grew due to the Crown's need for copper and other metals. German miners were brought to England and their advanced techniques were applied to Coniston. The Coniston copper mines reached their peak during the Industrial Revolution between the years of 1750 and 1850. New technologies, including steam-powered equipment, allowed for deeper mining and more efficient ore processing. When the mines were at their height in the 1850s, they provided work for several hundred men, women and children. At this time, they produced between 2,000 and 3,000 tonnes of copper each year, but by the 1870s, the Coniston mines were finding it increasingly hard to compete in a world of falling copper prices. By the 1880s, underground mining had finished and the workforce was reduced to a handful of men. St Andrew's Church in Coniston was built in 1819 to replace a smaller church from the 1500s. A bigger church was needed due to the population increase in Coniston as many more copper mine workers arrived in the village. There's a little robin just behind me. Never been as close to one like that before. The Coniston Launch is a passenger boat service offering cruises around the lake. It stops at key locations including Brantwood, Torver and Lake Bank. These cruises provide opportunities to learn about the lake's history and enjoy its breathtaking scenery. The Steam Yacht Gondola is another boat service which is operated by the National Trust. It's a Victorian-style steam-powered vessel and offers a unique and elegant way to explore the lake. However, it doesn't usually operate during the winter months. Behind me is Brantwood. This is the former home of John Ruskin, who lived here in the 19th century. He was one of Coniston's most well-known residents, so let's go in and have a look. John Ruskin was one of the most influential people during Victorian times, and he spent the last 30 years of his life living in Coniston. He was a poet, artist, critic, social reformer and conservationist. Although he was born in London, his family spent holidays in the Lake District, and when he was a young boy, he started writing about his experiences here. He was born into a wealthy family and inherited a huge sum of money after his father's death. Yet he used much of his wealth to buy houses for the poor. Driven by his deep faith in social justice, he established the Guild of St George in the 1870s to right some of the social wrongs of the day and make England a happier and more beautiful place in which to live and work. He wanted everyone to see and enjoy the unspoilt, inspirational beauty of the world both in nature and in art. Ruskin's ideas on the preservation of open spaces and the conservation of historic buildings and places inspired the establishment of the National Trust and the founders of the National Parks movement. The Ruskin Museum was founded in 1901, shortly after John Ruskin's death, with the purpose to honour his life, work and legacy. Over the years, it has expanded its focus to include the broader history and culture of Coniston and the surrounding area. The museum explores the industrial heritage of the Coniston area, focusing on the historic Coniston Coppermines and the mining industry's impact on the community. The museum also houses a significant collection related to Donald Campbell, the world-famous speed record holder who died attempting a water speed record on Coniston Water in 1967. Hawkshead is one of the Lake District's charming historic villages. Known for its narrow cobbled streets, whitewashed cottages and medieval architecture, visitors come here to experience its quaint, timeless atmosphere. I've just arrived in Hawkshead Village, and behind me the white building is the old grammar school. It was built in the 1500s and William Wordsworth was a pupil there. If you want to know more about him, I'll leave the link below to my Grasmere video. This school is a museum nowadays, but unfortunately it is closed in the winter months, so for today I can only have a look around the grounds outside. The school was founded in 1585 by Edwin Sandys, the Archbishop of York, who was born in Hawkshead and wanted to give something back to his birthplace. William Wordsworth attended the school between 1778 and 1787. As well as the main shop in Grasmere, Grasmere Gingerbread also has a shop here in Hawkshead. Behind me you can see Anne Tyson's house, and this was where William Wordsworth stayed when he was a pupil at the school. The local Methodist church was opened in 1862 in a converted 15th century cottage. Behind me is a really nice shop called the Honeypot, and they sell a lot of locally made produce, 30 different types of cheeses, lots of jams, sauces, Christmas hampers, that sort of thing. So for now I'm going to go on a walk up to Latterbarrow, and then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to buy some stuff. Behind me is St Michael's and All Angels Church. It was originally built as a chapel in the 12th century and then expanded over the next couple of hundred years into the church that we see today. It looks like it's open today. I can go in and have a look because I can see that the door's open. So let's go inside. In the year 1500, the chapel was widened by the addition of the two side aisles. During this time, the chapel belonged to Furness Abbey. However, it was granted its own parish status by Edwin Sandys, the Archbishop of York, who also opened Hawkshead Grammar School. The Archbishop also built a private chapel here in memory of his parents, and you can see the tombs at the back. The wall paintings were added in the late 17th century. Behind me is an old medieval courthouse that was built in the 1500s. To go inside, apparently you have to get a key from the National Trust shop in the village. Now I haven't asked for this today because it does look like it's closed off anyway. It looks like they've got some building works going on. That is a shame because I've seen pictures of it inside and it does look really interesting. There's an old fireplace in there from the 1300s and they don't know where that's from because it's not from the same time period as the building, so it's as if they've moved it from somewhere else. There used to be a big house here alongside it called Hawkshead Hall. After filming this, I found out that the building work relates to the only remaining part of Hawkshead Old Hall, which is behind the courthouse. The new owner has been updating the progress on Instagram, so I'll leave a link to their account below in the description of the video. I'm just starting my walk now up to Latterbarrow Hill. It should give me a view of Windermere. Behind me, the white buildings you can see is Hawkshead Village. This is the first time I've been to Hawkshead actually. I don't live very far from the Lake District, I live less than an hour away, but I haven't visited all the villages yet, so this was my first time today. So it's a Saturday morning, surprisingly it is really quiet in the village today, and I think that's because it's out of season. It's November now and it's not school holidays, so I think I just picked a good day to come. This walk I'm doing today up to Latterbarrow is about 5 kilometres round trip. You can do a longer one, but the reason why I'm only going to do the 5k is because I'm still getting over an injury. And the weather's not so good either. It's cold, it's about 8 degrees and it's starting to rain. It's quite typical of the Lake District, you can get all seasons in one day. So Hawkshead Village has lots of really old buildings, lots of nice places to eat, lots of little tea rooms. There's no big chain shops, it's all small independent shops and lots of them are selling locally made produce. So it is a very nice place to come for the day. I've got about 0.8 kilometres left to go, which is about half a mile, all uphill from here, although it's not too steep so far, but I think I've still got the worst bit to come. But at least the sun seems to be coming back out, so I should get some good views from the top. At 18 kilometres or 10.5 miles long, Windermere is the largest lake in England. So I've now reached the top of Latterbarrow with a fabulous view over Windermere. I did fly over it once on the way back from Shetland and I got a view of the whole lake from the air. I'll add that to the video if I'm able to. The last 200 or 300 metres were quite tough because I've still got a bit of a heel injury, so I was starting to feel it again. I had to keep stopping. Also, I felt weak because I didn't have enough to eat when I started, and the route is quite muddy. My boots were squelching in a lot of places. I'd recommend doing this route when it's been dry for a few days before, because there's only a small bit of it is a path, the rest is mainly grass. So when it's been raining for a few days it is quite wet and muddy. So that's me done here in Hawkshead. I just made it back to the car. It started to rain. This is all the stuff I bought from the Honeypot shop. So I got some Christmas presents here, little Christmas hamper. I got homemade lasagna, mince pies, local cheese and some biscuits. On the way home, I stopped at the village of near Sawrey. This is where the children's author Beatrix Potter lived from 1905. You can visit her former house, known as Hilltop, between March and October. So that's all from me in the Lake District today. If you like the video, please press like and subscribe, and check out my other videos on the Lake District. I'll put a link to those in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.